INdigital is on a mission to improve the 911 industry. Our goal is to create something better to go above and beyond the current standards. Our passion for creating the most advanced, well-designed solutions led to our position as an industry leader in next-gen core services. For the millions of calls processed over our emergency IP networks, to our Text for 911 solution, Texty, to our disaster recovery and backup solution, Mevo, it's easy to see we love what we do. For more information, check us out at www.indigital.net.
Rapid Deploy believes that every public safety agency, regardless of size, should have access to the data they need when it matters most. That's why since 2016, our mission has been to reduce emergency response times and improve public safety. We are the industry's only integrated emergency response platform. Our web-based cloud platform includes analytics, mapping, dispatch, and mobile apps, purpose-built for 911 in the 21st century. Visit www.rapiddeploy.com to learn how we enable effective, efficient, data-driven emergency response.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by INdigital as well as Rapid Deploy, and this is going to be an INdigital exclusive for the month of January. Thank you all for everything. It's already been kind of a crazy 2021. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. It's January 19th right now. This won't go out. But now that it's airing, it's probably 2 or so weeks later. So I've got a lot of episodes that I'm posting and everything already. But thank you all for being here and joining us for this episode. I'm very excited. And also a big shout out to patrons. I wouldn't be able to do everything I do without all of you. Especially those who watch, listen, and share and report. So support. Support. That's what I meant. Also, there's much more content coming out. New Singing Badly in My Car videos are coming out for patrons, so make sure to check those out. There are teasers that go out to the public, but the full videos go to patrons. You can check us out, and that's going to be patreon.com/WTT podcast. And we are going to jump in right here. I've been talking to my guest right before we started, and we've just been laughing. Sharing stories of old, and this is going to be fun. So again, like I said, I'm excited and I'm pumped. My guest today is Gail, and she is director of Fulton County 911 out of Indiana and has about 22 years of experience coming in here. So welcome.
Hello. Welcome. Thanks for having me, Ricardo.
Yes, it is good to have you on here. And it's been a while actually since I've seen you. The last time was at Wabash County, right?
Right.
How many months ago was that? Was it 2 or 3 months?
No, that was summer, wasn't it? July.
Was it really?
Yeah.
It was that long ago?
Well, I had to give you my award.
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
I got an amazing award.
Received the presidential award,
which was very awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I just can't believe it was that long ago. It's January now.
I know. Scary. Time flies.
I know. Shit's going fast. Holy crap. Oh man. So we were already laughing when we started, we were already laughing. For those who are not from the Indiana area or have gone to the Indiana NINA APCO conferences or anything, we always have fun. There is so much fun that we've had when we've gone there. I think when I first started going to the conference, it was 2014, and I remember just all of us just having a good time out there on in the courtyard and just hanging out, talking and stuff. And then a mutual friend and one of my former coworkers, Lori, her waking up at what 3, 4 in the morning, texting everyone.
Yeah,
saying,
I
"Coffee's ready."
usually have coffee with Lori. So when I'm up, I'm in the menopause stage. So when when I'm up there, I know there's only one other person that's on, and that's Lori. We usually have our morning coffee, so save the world in our own context, and
Yeah, all types of
yeah,
different
all
conversations going on.
kind of things happen at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, some people are just going to sleep.
Yeah.
Others are waking up and having coffee. But yeah,
Oh shoot.
always a good time. And the sessions, it always feels like family. I'm originally
Absolutely.
out of Michigan. I've gone to the Michigan conferences and they've always been done well, but there was something about coming to Indiana that it just felt like home. Everyone just welcomed me in. One of the directors there, he's not a director anymore, but he's a director in a different setting. But during the time, I remember going to that first conference there in Indiana, and he introduced me as every name but my real name.
Like Carlos.
Yes. Oh man, it was. I remember getting everything set up. The best thing though was that he kept going on stage, between sessions or anything, and it was like, make sure to go out there and share your story. So that was awesome. He was doing good stuff. But when he was there with me, and he would bring people over, he would say, I want to introduce you to Carlos. He's here. He does the Within the Trenches podcast where he shares stories of 911 dispatchers and call takers. And I just stood there like, and what's funny is that some of the people that he was introducing, he didn't know that they knew me already. And they had the same look like, are you gonna say something? Are you about the name? And I just let it go because I didn't want to be a dick and embarrass him, in front of everyone. And then at the end of the first day, he comes up to me and he goes, "Ricardo," and I looked at him and I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Why didn't you tell me that I was giving you the wrong name this entire day?" I was like, "Well, I didn't want to be a jerk."
But it's funny.
Yeah, I was like, but it's so funny because now we have this story. He's like, yeah, well, okay. Oh man, it was the funniest stuff. But just like that, it was one of those things where it's always felt like family, and it's always been fun. So thank you for you and everyone else who's been on the committee who just welcomed me in, and I kind of became a part of that as well. We were all hanging out, and so it was always a good time. And there's a story that I want to get to later that we'll get to about something that happened there. And I've shared the story before, but not a lot of people have heard it.
Well, because I got to witness it firsthand.
That's right.
It'll be like really good on your version and my version.
Yes, this is going to be really good then. Okay, we'll get to this story here. But first, I want to go back in time. And, I want to learn more about you, and of course the audience to learn more about you as well. So you've got these 22 years in public safety overall. How did you start? How did you get into dispatching to begin with? Now, do you come from a family of public safety, or did you?
I do.
Oh.
However, I'm a graphic designer, so that's what I went to school for. And so I worked actually on the corner of 14 and 69. Doesn't that sound like really cool? I worked on the corner of 14 and 69. Okay, we'll get back to it.
I like it.
For an advertising agency, and I did about 150 logos a day.
Oh, man.
So, it became tedious. The Colligan lady was my main client. And it was just tedious work and underpaid. And I don't know if some of you know, but I'm an artist. So that it just kind of killed me in that realm. So I drove back and forth from Rochester to Fort Wayne, and I started kind of veering away from there, and a dispatch position came up. Well, my dad is a law enforcement officer. So at that time, he's like, no. So anyway, I still applied. And
of course you did.
Yeah.
So no one can tell you what to do.
Yeah. So back in the day, now I'll start dating myself, from the 70s. I was born in 1973, but I lived in town, and it was like the cop center of the town. So in 2 blocks, cops all lived around there. So the sheriff at that time lived next door, and he was like my dad. And he says, yeah, Gail, you're really smart and you'll be fine. And come on, I'll just talk to your dad. Don't worry about it. And my dad was like pissed off at me for a while, but I started part-time, and believe it or not, because I grew up with the scanner from birth, I will tell you, my dad was a law enforcement officer when I was born. I learned to tune out the scanner. So sitting in dispatch, they'd be like, Gail, you going to answer the radio? I'm like, what radio? What? Or if I heard my dad or somebody on the scanner, so I had to retrain my ears. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that was the first thing. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to get this or not. Maybe my dad was right. So in growing up, I don't, a lot of you are pro guns and stuff like that, but it was not uncommon for my dad to, because he's a gun collector, to have guns laid out on the pool table. So,
oh man,
so people would even come over. So unordinary things mm-hmm. were like common to me. So if I would go over to friends and they were like, Gail, your dad has a gun. I'm like, a gun? Yeah, we got like 2,000. Half of them were on the pool table.
No, more than a gun.
Yeah, just odd. So, but we were always taught to look, but don't touch, in safety. And I don't know, law enforcement, lock the doors, turn off the light. The common safety things I grew up with, and so proud that I had a dad that taught me all that, because it was just common for me. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty easy, but we were matrons and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I could really get into this, man. This is like fun stuff. No wonder my dad does it, because you can let your hair down, you can cuss, and you don't cuss in front of your parents, but I was able to say the F-bomb like 50,000 times. And now it's like my main language, where I have to watch it today.
Yeah.
But it was just really fun for me. So it became a full-time position. But all these guys were like my family to begin with. Mm-hmm. So it was like so natural for me. It was a learning hindrance. And, back in the day, where our consoles are 3 times robust, and our computers we work on were smaller than a sheet of paper. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's so different today that when you learned, they threw you in there. You had a mic, you had a map. There was no Allie Annie. You had the big red phone answering 911 when those came about. So, okay, now I'm really dating myself. But anyway, it was really fun for me. And, but then when I started answering 911 calls, that's the real kicker. And I'm sure that's like that with everybody today. You can either handle it or you don't. Mm-hmm. So I will tell you, my first 5 911 calls were all traumatic deceased calls. And I'm thinking, maybe this isn't for me. I'm killing people here. Mm-hmm. But in my defense, a lot of those people were already gone. Mm-hmm. And and so forth. So I still remember those 5 calls vividly, like they happened yesterday, because they were so traumatic. I never heard anything like that because, like I said, my dad taught me safety. And my dad's one of the few where he never brought that stuff home. So he didn't talk about work at home. He was very protective. So imagine me wanting to work there. That was against his rules. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the more I got into work in this type of field, I understood where he was coming from, and I so appreciate that. But we'll get into that later because I still work with my dad today, which is really awesome, and I'm a big community advocate. So anyway, that's how
Awesome, man.
my career in 911 started.
So, okay, let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
For those who might not know, what was your duty as a matron?
A matron, like I lodged folks, frisked people. Back at that time, I was very good at Spanish. Don't talk to me in Spanish today, Ricardo. But it was so structured that I didn't know the slang of Spanish, but I was able to lodge a lot of Hispanics, and we did like cell checks, basically what a jailer does today.
Mm-hmm.
And then and we would do transports, and I would do medical transports, after my shift or before my shift, and EDOs, and that's what a matron did. So we basically did jail duties.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Marshall County does that today, just a county north of us, where they rotate in and out. And that stuff's like riding a bike to me. I mean, we did it so old school that I probably would get caught up in today's world.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what paperwork? Like, get your ass in the cell. We're not dicking around here. We're not,
Right.
And we didn't have cameras back then. So
very true. So
we'll just leave it at that so I don't get censored from the United States government.
Yeah. So, do you think at all, like, if you ever think back at it, on all of this, on your history through public safety, do you feel like maybe because you were around it so much growing up that was, when you saw that ad for the opportunity to work in dispatch, that's kind of what led you there a little bit, was because you had kind of this experience growing up already, and so there was some of that interest?
I think so, because I mean, I'm sure there's other cop kids that are dispatchers today, and but my dad took me to school in a squad car. My dad was the school resource where he came and he talked. So my dad was even though he kept us private, he was very in the scenes in school and different things. And I always love sitting in a squad car. I know that's like insane, but I just loved it.
Did you sit in front or in back?
Well, both. Because squad cars were the family cars.
Yeah.
So instead of fighting to see who could sit up front, we fought. Then all of us got to sit in the back.
Nice.
See how that works?
Yeah. Oh man, that is funny.
But yeah.
So then you get in there and everything. What is it that you're looking at when you get in there first? And I guess kind of your training as well, because you said they just threw you in there, and that's how it was for me as well. And that was 2001 when I started in Florida. It was a small police department. My trainer was like in his mid 70s. His name was Harry. Coolest dude ever, but also a take no shit type person. And I watched him take a phone call, and then it was my turn. And I thought he was playing, but he was definitely not playing. And he told me the same thing. He said, the only way you're going to learn this is by getting in there and doing it, and doing it and doing it and doing it and learning. There was a 40-hour beginners dispatchers course that I did take like a week or two later, but that's how I started. It was just get in there
Yeah.
and learn how to
Sink or swim.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I'm not going to lie, I was probably one of the worst dispatchers just because I tuned a lot of things out.
Mm-hmm.
They probably thought, oh my God, get this bitch out of here. She is just not happening.
Yeah.
But a good thing is a lot of those gals that worked in there at that time, I used to sit on their lap. They used to babysit me. So in the time of need where it was like family or home to me. So I'm not for sure that's a good thing. Looking back at it to where, okay, we've got to take her totally out and work her with somebody that she doesn't even know and retrain her brain. So having that type of experience, I kind of utilize that today. If somebody tells me they have experience or their family's been into that type of realm their entire life, I'm like, yeah, that's not always a good thing.
Right.
So just from experience. And so it was a little harder for me to learn to begin with. My best friend actually worked and her husband still works here today. So she and her partner trained me for the most part. So it was all a comfort zone for me. However, when I worked with the other gal, which I won't mention names, but she was a royal bitch. So she made me sink or swim. So was she?
Yeah.
But honestly, when I became the director, she left because nobody ever liked to work with her. So, and we all have them here. I mean, nobody can say they don't. It's just when you get burned out or some of the people just don't have good personalities and
Right. Yeah.
But they help you sink or swim. So
they do. Yeah. There are
they
those
really do.
that have those qualities. Sometimes you think they're being a dick, but then,
She helped me learn though. I mean,
yeah, we end up having to look at ourselves and wait a minute, am I the problem?
right.
Like maybe I do have an issue.
Yeah. And I have a very type A personality. So somebody coming at me, it was like war. So, and you get two type A's in there and you always try to outdo each other and it becomes a bitch slap session. So basically, I think that's what happened. And truthfully, she did help me so in that realm. And one of the things that she always taught me, she goes, Gail, just read everything that's on the damn sheet of paper. When the IDAX came. So back then we used to have to do it by codes. Remember the codes like 036 or 96 and to run people. Yeah. And so I'm running somebody and I'm reading it. And at the end it says to be continued. So as I'm reading the 27 back, which is a driver's license, I'm like, to be continued. Signal lady. So, I mean, you have all these and all of a sudden the air was dead silence and all these phone calls start coming in. And that was my first laughing where, okay, don't read every little thing that's on the
like Ron Burgundy, reading everything off the teleprompter.
Yeah. But you're so nervous because you're working with somebody that you're not fitting in with and you're sink or swim. So you want to be so perfect. Well, that's what happens being so perfect. You don't realize the facts that are in front of you.
Yeah. you do things literally rather than using that common sense.
Yeah. It's like, oh shit. And you're just like looking at it after you read it. And you're like, I'm not even going to look up. I'm not going to look up. I'm not going to turn around because everybody, as soon as I turned around, there was dying laughing. And
I bet. Yeah, well, and because sometimes you get a BOL, a be on the lookout, and you're giving it out. And if you're like me, there were a lot of times where I didn't read it first.
Yeah,
and I just went ahead and started
dispatching.
Dispatching it, and it sounded like bullshit because, they're using kind of shorthand in the narrative as well. So I'm trying to read it. I'm like, I don't even know what this says, and I'm pretty sure a couple times I said stand by, and I unkeyed and read it really fast and then went back and said it again. I'm like, okay, here we go. Oh man.
But that's how we learn. And but yeah, yep. We don't do our training is kind of reversed now. We try to have them read their own 27s and 28s back, driver's license and registration, so they don't make those mistakes like we all did. Sink or swim, man.
Right. Yeah.
Tear the page. Oh shit. Oh, what?
Yeah. Read that. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
So okay. So what year is this that you're going in, that you're first starting, and what is it that you're looking at? Let's say you're sitting down at the console. What is it that you're looking at for those who are listening right now and watching, of course, so that they can picture what it is that you're getting into?
Oh, in 1999, that kind of picture.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that. Yeah. Whenever it was that you started.
Oh, okay. 1999, 1998. Okay. So, like I said, it was all familiar to me. However, we all know, like when you sit down or you're hearing somebody or you're seeing something on TV, you're thinking, oh, I can do that. That's peanuts, So I sit down at the console and mind you, you're thinking, I have all this equipment that I've got to maintain, dispatch. So I have anxiety too. So maybe that comes with type A personalities, but I'm sitting there and I'm starting to have an anxiety attack just because I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Because back then our consoles were as wide as the Dell screen and then some, right? Remember? If you go to some of the state police posts, you'll see where they're at an angle and there's all these different buttons and you had to select and they had to be lit up. But what if the lights went out? Like rural counties, well, we'll fix that next month. So you're like, okay, did I press that? Do I not? Did I to tone people out? And back then when you had rural routes instead of any alley to show you. So, you had the map, you had this new robust equipment and only one little screen to work from. I'm not kidding you, people. It's like size less than a paper. It's a sheet of paper. And your printer was the size of your desk today. Print it out.
Oh man.
So yeah, it was just so overwhelming once you sat down. And then the damn red phone rings to boot. Now I got to do that. But no, when I first sat down, I thought, I can do this. And then when you actually had to put the fingers to the buttons, to the mouth, to the mic, to the phone, and then throw emotions in there, wowza. And not know what to do, sink or swim. And then save somebody's ass or somebody's dying and so forth. But I will tell you, my first ever 911 call, this guy passed away and his wife calls me and it's just like an everyday phone conversation. And she says, honey, I need the damn coroner. My effing husband, can I cuss on here?
Of course.
Oh, okay. So my fucking husband is bent over like a jackass, holding the remote. That's how he died, watching TV. Now, if he would have went to bed like I told him to, I would have found him there. Maybe I could have helped him. But the son of a bitch, they can come see him with his ass in the air. So send me the coroner, send me whoever you got to send, because somebody needs to pick the son of a bitch up. And I'm like, is he breathing? Is he gone?
Oh man.
Because it's my first 911 call. So
Right.
Somebody help me. Yeah.
Holy crap.
You don't know whether to laugh. So the sheriff and everybody shows up and literally he was bent over. He had passed away and rigor mortis set in, but he was bent over with his ass in the air and picking up a remote. And she was pissed that he died like that and was such a bullheaded person. So I'm like, okay, have to retrain my brain. Okay, that wasn't a 911 call that I thought would happen. Okay, or, and the next ones just went downhill from there. very tragic. So anyway,
Dude, like you, so would you say that you're the magnet?
well, yes. So if I sit in there today, which over Christmas, I did cover my employees over Christmas,
Mhm.
and the deputies and people will come. No, we're not doing this today, Gail. And and it'll be quiet for the first 2 hours, but when I get the first phone call, it's like traumatic. I mean, we can't just be like a slip, trip, or fall type call. We've got to do what caused the fall. Then it's like, oh, we're going into cardiac arrest. We're starting to do CPR. I mean, these are the type of calls I get. So throughout my career, the worst ones were I'm an Amish magnet. So I would always get the Amish kids, and those are very tragic. So anyway, I'm a magnet for those, and knock on wood, I haven't got those in a long time, but
Well, I can only imagine that those would definitely be hard because a lot of that area. I mean, Indiana, like a lot of, I guess some of the Midwest have Amish communities and such.
yeah.
In those spots, the phones they're like booth phones, and they're at the end of the residence, right? Or
Well, a lot of them are
seen.
maybe they're Mennonites now. I don't know, but a lot of them do have cell phones in their residence.
Oh,
So their religion is what gets in the way of a life save. That's it. I mean, they've pretty well figured out around here that you call the coroner direct or they wait. And they do have a lot of children, but their religion is a great big factor, it seems like to me here.
the way it was explained to me, though, like with the phones, that there are like there's a set of booths, and I know this because someone told me about a call that they had taken where they actually, the person ran, and I think this one was a medical, but the person had run to the booth at the end of like a residence or something, made the phone call, and then they were asking the questions, and the person's like, hold on, I got to run back. And it was,
Oh, wow.
I don't remember how far back it was to the field where they were at, but the person had to keep running back and forth. And the person I was talking to said they were so out of breath at the end of it that I thought I was going to have to send 2 ambulances because
Yeah.
the caller was,
Yeah.
out of
My
breath
first
as well.
Amish calls were like that. My lateral calls from the Amish, and maybe there are more Mennonites around here now,
Yeah.
were not. They were from exact cell phones. So I think the worst thing is when you can hear a child in the background that you trying in your heart, and you're sending everything against their religion, even though they're saying, we don't want that.
Right.
That's the excruciating pain for me.
Right. It definitely makes the call harder and sticks with you more because there's so much that can be done,
Like,
but there's
yeah.
some obstacles there. Now going back to that first call that you had, what were your thoughts? I mean, like you said, you that was not what you expected to get, something like that, especially probably on your first call. But you get a call like that, and I know myself, I'd probably be thinking, this is real. Like this is, but also, like you were saying, you don't know whether to laugh because sometimes people call in, and I remember taking a call once. It was New Year's Day, and I know I've shared this before, but this is kind of in the do I laugh or do I not realm. And it was a lady who called. Her and her husband, they were landlords of this apartment complex, and they had gone there to do some checking to see if anybody had been partying or whatever, and make sure there's no damage or whichever. But they went out there, and there was a guy who was butt ass naked in one of the laundry rooms on the floors, and he was passed out, and he had vomit and like feces all over the place. And they're telling me this story, and I'm in my head, I'm thinking, is this guy all right though? Is he okay?
Yeah.
And they weren't with him anymore, but they're like, he's just passed out. He's sleeping. He's but we just need somebody out here. So I sent EMS either way, but just in case the person actually needs some help. And but the lady, as she's telling me this story and is describing it, she starts busting up laughing. And then I cover my mouth because of how she's like, the sound of her laugh is hilarious. And her husband, you can hear her husband in the background going, "Why the hell are you laughing? This isn't funny. We're going to have to clean this up." And he's just going off, which made it even more funny. And she's laughing even harder because of him. And there was nothing else I could do, but I started laughing with her. And
yes. I mean, what do you do?
Right. I'm like, ma'am, we've got people headed out there.
You're stumbling over yourself because you're just like, you're in disbelief.
Right.
And if you're new. I mean, somebody's saying, "The neighbor's cat's pissing on my shrubs," or you're like, "What? What are you calling me for that?" I mean, just like the disbelief of people's emergencies in their mind. I mean, it's so shocking when you're new. It's just so shocking. And one of the things here, and of course, a lot of the older guys are retiring, but they got me through a lot of these 911 calls because, after you hang up and they come back and they joke and they laugh, even though at the expense of a deceased person, they're getting through that call. It's their way of working the call. And so those gentlemen who are already like my family helped me through that. And that's what we try to do today as well is, even though it was so tragic, you can't help but think about, I can't believe this is how she called me. She really doesn't give a shit if her husband bent over with the ass in the air. She's pissed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. And then I will say the second 911 call I got, the guy was at a party and it was so foggy out. It took the officers an hour or so and the medics to get to the call. But what happened, he had fought with his lover, went over a hill, hit his lover, and drug him to the house. He wanted to kill himself. So he was flipping the trigger and saying that God's never going to forgive him. And 2.5 hours later, I had to talk with him the whole entire time until somebody got there. So to me, being innocent and I am religious, that helped me out. And I was kind of figuring out how to consult somebody on 911. So even though my first 5 calls were very, very weird or tragic, they taught me how to become a dispatcher. I truly believe, and to get that sense worth, like, okay, I think I could do it, but man, I really got to think about, I don't know if I want to do this or not, So I felt so sorry for the guy, and they all get back. Well, and of course, the manslaughter charges you get, even though the guy's innocent. I mean, he didn't mean to kill him or whatnot. So this was my whole entire shift. We dealt with this call, and he had the whole Sesame Street tattooed on his chest. And I don't know why.
Wait, well, hold on a minute. What?
I don't know.
Like all the characters, you mean?
Yeah, like, Big Bird and
right.
all of them.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, I mean, that kind of helped me get through that call. And of course, the officers were laughing and like, "Gail, come here. You got to see this. I know it's tragic, but, Bert and Ernie were partying." I mean, they were just kind of making jokes. Right. I'm thinking, my first reaction was like, how dare you? The guy just killed his lover. How can you do that? But they're like, "Gail, but look at these tattoos. I mean, they're detailed." And it was like, I don't know. It was like dads trying to comfort a child. And
right. Yeah.
A 2.5 hour misery on this because the guy was clicking the revolver and he was going to shoot himself. And I'm like, oh God, dude, don't do this. I mean, it's not worth it. It's not like you meant to. And it was just like over and over and over. So I play that call in my mind every time I see something or I don't know. That one just never leaves either.
Well, I mean, that's a call that's early on, right? Early on in your
Yeah.
career, you're new, and
Mm,
at that point, especially if that's the first suicide person that you've talked to,
mm,
you are that's another mindset change, because now you're not
yeah.
just taking these calls, you're actually talking to someone to try to talk them out of killing themselves.
Yeah.
And there are so many things that go through your head all at the same time as you're speaking to someone. It's like those books where you choose your own path, through the book and stuff. But
Mhm.
this, it's all these different decisions. Like, well, if I say this, well, they might think this, or if I go this way, they might think this, or this might be a good one. And so you've got all of these different things that are going on
Right.
that you're you're talking to the person.
Yeah. And even talking to you about it today, my heart races a little bit because I can still feel it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No,
It's like you put it in Pandora's box, and once it starts to leak out, it's like, oh my God, we got to put it back in there. You know what I mean? Like we've been there, done that. We've moved on. We've helped quite a few people, and we've got to keep that mindset. So
and it definitely, I would say, it helped you in a lot of different ways, because I mean, you're 22 years into this now. You are the director
mm,
of the center there.
yeah,
So all of these earlier calls, I mean, if it's something that you really didn't want to continue to do, you would have left a long time ago. You obviously wanted to do more because you moved up, and look where you're at now. I mean,
yeah,
were some of these experiences, reasons that you wanted to help others as they were coming into this industry as well? Then,
yeah. I mean, I look at it, and there's a lot of things that come up, and a, ma- a lot of people know that I'm in it for interoperability. I really thrive on that as well, and INdigital helped me get into that realm um, early in my career and as a director. But it's always one step up, and I have never been a perfect person, and I don't think anybody's here. What makes a good dispatcher? You got to be a rebel, but you got to be passionate, right?
yeah,
I got in trouble. I thought the gal didn't want an officer. She kept telling me no, 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 no. Then she did, and she was just one of these people that tore herself up. She was a cutter. She abused herself, and when I mean cut, she really cut like her insides and so forth. And I had a long line of incidences for the sheriff that I had been saving on this call, and I got caught up. So, being a new dispatcher, I always tell somebody, I'm not perfect, and I want to help you not make the same mistake I did, because I was having a bad day personally, a bad week, and I had a breakup and all this kind of stuff, and I brought that to work. So that I don't care attitude started to filter over into my job, and we can't do that. So I learned that early on in my career too, after being a year in dispatch, where you think you've got the balls in your hands and you know what you're doing, and you don't.
hmm,
You don't. Um, and I'm young, and nobody's going to tell me what to do. And are you kidding me, you welfare recipient? I mean, that's what I said verbally, and it was recorded. I didn't tell her that directly, but it was recorded. So
yeah,
now that goes against me, because A, she called for an officer. She went to a hospital. She cut herself up. She's done this in the past. And I got 90 days off without pay, and I was going to lose my job. But when the prosecutor went to go talk to her, she had done it to herself and made it up. So lessons learned.
yeah.
Don't ask for payback. I didn't ask because she made it up. I took my view, like my whipping, my scolding that I needed to, moved on, and it made me a better person and made me what I am today. You don't do that. You do not bring your shit to work, clean it up, and every call is important, and make sure you listen. So,
Right.
like I said, nobody's perfect. And that's my non-perfect story that made me a better person today. Anyway, in hindsight.
That and that's a good way, to look at it as well. We're learning all the time. Every day we're learning. there are different things in dispatch that happen, different situations, some things that we've gone through, that we've experienced, that will help us either in a call, speaking to a coworker or an authority figure, things that we learned from, even our parents. I can only imagine that, a lot of things that you grew up with your dad being in law enforcement, or maybe even, talks that you two had, have helped you in what it is that you do today. You said that he never brought any of the work home. Has that been kind of the same for you, or has it been different? Because, back then, and some part of it, as you were getting into this, we weren't, it was like we weren't allowed to feel, a lot of this stuff. And,
Right.
and some people bury things, myself included. I was one of those who buried things and finally started to talk about it. And now, years later, a lot of us are talking about it and figuring out different ways to get this out. So,
Mhm.
I guess how has that been for you, where growing up, your dad didn't bring anything home, and whether he kept it to himself or he spoke to people at work or eventually let it out, or whichever, how is it now different for you going into this?
Um, I will tell you, I'm a bad person to ask.
All right.
I
Well,
just
that's our
am
time.
because, yeah, bad person to ask that. I still hold it in just because the way we were taught.
Yeah.
There's one call that my dad has always told me, and you suck it up, where uh, major accident where there was body pieces and he had to go physically pick them up because the EMTs or paramedics would not at that time. So him and the coroner picked a kid up. So kid tragedies are my dad's worst as well. And he said, Gail, that's what somebody's got to do it. And you learn to get through it.
Mhm.
And we move on and we don't talk about it, because you know what? There's going to be somebody tomorrow that may need the same comfort care. All right. I mean, and he talked to me like, just like that. And you move forward. And then everybody here is dispatch was never included to the debriefings. And they are today.
Mhm.
And I open those up to all of my staff. And I've always done that ever since I began the director. And being a prior dispatcher, I include my staff in quite a bit of decisions. I let them give their input because it's a team effort, for one thing. And that was never brought to my attention when I first started. And I'm sure a lot of people know that today, where you're in there, you keep your mouth shut. You knew the job when you took it, answer the damn phone or get the hell out. I mean, you can only take that so much, like Pandora's box. So my Pandora box still gets filled today. I'm very protective of my dispatch staff because of that. So a lot of you may or may not know, but we had the bus stop accident here with the 3 children that perished. And the 2 dispatchers did a phenomenal job. But I was in here right away to comfort those dispatchers, or if they wanted to get out of the seat. And they were 2 experienced dispatchers, so guess what? They stayed. Because that's what we were taught to do back in the day. You stay, you suck it up, and you continue. But I was here, and everybody was out there. So anybody that came on station, I kind of helped filter that a little bit, and we just dealt with it. So I'm not for sure, Ricardo. That's a good question for me. I still need counseling on that. And
No, that's good. I mean,
a lot of these calls, like I said, when I bring up, brings out my anxiety. So, and I don't like that feeling. So I just put it back in Pandora's box. And there you have it.
I think it was a good response either way, because there are a lot of people who, they do talk about things, and there are others who hold it in or maybe talk later on. And eventually, especially from listening to stories like this, like yours, I mean, people are learning from this. this is all a learning experience, and this is good. This
Yeah.
it's good to be able to talk about this. I mean, you went into detail that I did not expect for
Oh, oh, shoot.
which is no, which is
Huh.
it's a good thing is what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
thinking about it now, where you're kind of talking about, you kind of hold some of the stuff in, or you don't really talk about it sometimes. You talked about a lot, and I think that's a good thing that you're able to share this, because those who are listening are going to learn from it, and especially those that work from with you, they're going to learn from this as well. So this is all very, very good information, and I thank you for being so open and willing to share all of this, because I mean, I've wanted to have you on an episode, and I'm pretty sure at the conferences you're like, nah,
Yeah.
you don't need me on there.
Yeah, I don't want to give my mom voice and tell him not to do this, and do this, and
Here we are, and I'm glad. That's why I was excited to have you on, because we've always had so much fun, just in general, and just shooting the shit and talking and everything.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to be good to be able to get this stuff out. So you do something as well there at the center, and it's Shop with a Cop. Now,
Right.
tell me a little bit about this, how it started, and what all it entails.
Okay, so in 1996, my father started Shop with a Cop. We were also foster parents. My parents were foster parents, so they took in quite a bit. So I'm not going to lie, a lot of my Christmases were slim because we shared it with others.
Mhm.
And I will never take that back. That's so humbling. But he started it in 1996. He continues to do it today. Over the years, we have had to hire, because a lot of these facilities, even like state police, when they call and get their funds and stuff for whatever it is, toy drives and that, you actually have to pay somebody to do that. And a lot of your profits go to that. Well, believe it or not, a few years ago, somebody was stealing money from us and then calling again and getting more money from the patrons here. So I told my dad, I was like, okay, that's enough. I'll just do it. So I have a lot of retired sheriff wives, one in particular, and her son and I went to school, but he died in Afghanistan, and I keep her busy with that, and we do all of it. And so, but every year we have around 200 to 250 children that we take and do Shop with a Cop, and we're always a year and ahead. So if something like the COVID, we thought, oh yeah, we saved up for this reason, and banked this cash from our donors. But honestly, they were true and full, and they donated the same amount as last year. And nobody told us no. Actually, they donated even a little more. And so that's a pride and joy that my dad does every year. And we start in September. But we have one of probably the best programs in our area, I will tell, in surrounding areas. But nothing like to give joy to those kids that, come in with no socks, dirty feet, no shoes, no coat, or you just can't really believe that people in your community are living like this, and you just want to adopt them all. And I've gotten my husband into it. He's not from law enforcement. He's a farmer. So his mindset is he just doesn't understand our realm. So he likes to donate to kids. I do have one stepson, but we went to take a bunch of gifts and food to one of the folks that I had, one of the kids that I had. They were 3 siblings. And so we go to the trailer court, and we get out, and we have a girl come up on a bicycle, and she goes, "Are you Santa's helper?" I go, "Yeah, I'm Santa's helper. And we're delivering to this house today." And then she points over to her trailer and says, "Well, I live right over there." And she gets on her bike and she hauls the mail to her house. My husband goes, "Gail, drop the food, get in the car. We're leaving now." Because all these kids swarmed around. So duly noted, I told my dad, I said, I will never do that again. And he goes, I told you not to do that.
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, oh my God, we got to go back and we've got to, spread the wealth. But
Right. I would have felt the same way.
she's never going to forgive me for not stopping, but I didn't have anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's so humbling. And we have the coroner, we have sheriffs, we have the city law enforcement, we have dispatchers, we have CASA advocate people come here. Everybody likes to help, and we just don't limit it to officers. So if we have a big donor that likes to keep quiet but wants to help, they show up and then they take a kid around. And like you said, Indiana is a family type atmosphere, and we all take care of each other. Hence the tragedy totes. So in your area, take a tragedy tote to a dispatch center just because. So
that's right. So can you explain a little more on that? Because that was something that that you all were doing, and I remember seeing it in different emails that it was going around. But can you explain what the tragedy tote is, please?
So the tragedy tote, when we had the bus stop accident, Miami County brought us up a couple of totes, and we kept receiving all this food and everything just for the tragedy that was in. And we were so humbled. I'm going to tell you, dispatch was taken care of more than the officers. I mean, it was so unbelievable. People were noting that, like, Gail, how do you know this person from South Carolina or Michigan? I mean, all these things came in. I'm like, they're paying it forward. This is the time when all these years that came about and people like notice what you do, they're paying it back. I mean, it was so overwhelming. It was almost like a funeral for herself. Mm-hmm. And so, like, in less than 30 days, Marshall County has the same thing, but it killed one child. So we're like, let's pay it forward. Let's go ahead and take it to Marshall County. So we started writing the dates on the lids of the tote. And then we took it to Kosciuszko County and Elkhart County. And so we kept it around in our own little, I want to say, Homeland Security District, St. Joe County and stuff like that, because we're really tight here.
Yeah.
And then it started going out further. And I'm like, well, it gets costly. I'm not going to lie, folks. But if each county takes it, or who has it last, devotes it to the next thing, it's like still the community, the state of Indiana supporting you from one point to another. So the last totes were down south, but we will probably continue to do it up north here just because it is costly at times. But if we all share in that wealth and just like note, hey, we're thinking about you, it just really makes you feel good. It's a feel good thing. And I can't reach everybody. I will tell you, Krista, my assistant, went to Myrtle Beach in the fall, and they had a tragedy over there at Myrtle Beach. And so she took them a tote over there and tried to get them educated on, this is what we do in Indiana. And they were so humbled, and she got to take some pictures. Of course, it's COVID. So, I mean, we had a little bit of restrictions there, but just share your thoughts and concerns. I mean, we receive cards from all over the U.S. And Gail, we see your Facebook page, and you guys do so much for your staff, or, and I really, truly don't. I mean, it's a family. We do things for each other here. So that's kind of how the tragedy started.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So for those who are looking into doing something like that, like what are some pointers, I guess, that you can hand out there?
Okay, so definitely write the date of the tragedy on the lid. So if you can't make it there in a week or two, or give them a call, send them an email, say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'll be stopping to take we'll stop by your center soon. Because who wants flowers and funerals at your dispatch center? Comes overwhelming a little bit. Yeah. So, yeah, that's first thing. Just acknowledge that they had it. You don't have to send something right away, but then everybody usually pitches in, hot cocoa, crackers, candy bars. You got to throw some healthy in there for those health nuts, the hell? Yeah. So, you throw some things in there like that, just a comfort thing, and put it in the tote and drop it on by. So, and then leave. You don't have to explain, send a card, drop it off, and just say, I'm thinking about you, man. Give him a hug and go back home. It sends a big message, I think.
Very, very cool. I dig that a lot. As we go into the wrap up of this episode, again,
we can't go on another half hour.
This has been well, we might once we start talking about this last part. It has been awesome to have you on here. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you and to have you talk about all of these different things that you're doing, your life experience in public safety, calls that you've taken, just everything. Thank you so much for what you do. And I want to go into a story that we mentioned at the beginning of the episode. This was 2015 or 16. It might have been 17 now. I'm not sure, and some of you may have heard this already because I've shared it on Open Mic Live before. But there was an evening at the Indiana Nina Apco conference where we were all in this it was a foyer area or something.
Foyer.
And we're all in there, and the vice president of the company that I worked for at the time is next to me as well. Like, we were all there. Again, this is like family. We all know each other, and have done so many different things, together. And I thought I was going to be cool, and I brought this backpack with me. It was a backpack cooler, and I had bought a 12-pack of Corona. So I had ice in there and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna be handing these out to people. It's gonna be cool. And we're sitting there, and I had just finished one. And I remember I had a lighter because earlier that day I had a cigar. And I remember I didn't have a bottle opener, so I was just gonna be cool and pop it like I had been popping them all evening. And when I went to pop it, I felt like I didn't pop it like real hard, but I must have done it just right with enough pressure, because that thing it popped, but it popped with such force that it flew up, hit my forehead, ricocheted off my forehead, and hit the damn ceiling, then hit the wall, and then fell. And I remember sitting there, and I didn't think anyone was paying attention, not until after it all happened, because people were like, what the hell just happened? And I'm like, I don't know. As I'm holding my forehead, because I didn't feel any pain at first, but I mean, that thing hit hard enough that the cap, like it went sideways, and it hit my forehead where I looked like I had a Harry Potter, like lightning on my forehead, and it was bleeding a little after, but apparently Gail saw it all.
Yeah, well, let me tell you the actual version.
Okay.
So yeah, we're all sitting around there, and Ricardo does have and I keep calling him Carlos, because that's my nickname for Ricardo.
That's right, yeah.
So anyway, I offer him our beverages that we have, and I won't tendency to share what that beverage was. He goes, "Oh no, I got my own."
That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take your guys's because I had some. I was like, no, I'm cool. I got some.
Yeah. Offers me a Corona. Nope, I already got my own. So he pulls it out, and he pulls his lighter because he can't find can't open his Corona. And I'm like, what are you doing? No, it's really cool, Gail. It's cool. It's cool. I mean, watch. Nobody's paying attention. They're thinking, it's a guy thing. They're thinking he's got it, but I'm watching. I'm like, this is not good. This is not safety.
Well, and I've always opened them like that too.
Yeah.
When I don't have something, but this time.
Yeah. And I kept saying, are you sure? Are you sure that's okay? Oh yeah, Gail, watch it. It's so cool. Let me show you how it's done. Let me show you how it's done.
Oh my God.
So, mind you, he already had a cigar in his mouth. He didn't have one
I
earlier.
was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But we were inside the building. I didn't have it open.
No, you were chewing on it.
I mean, oh yeah.
I don't know. So then he goes, Gail, watch. This is how you do it. Flicks the lighter, starts hosing the Corona down. And it wasn't just a little pop. It was like a gunshot. And I'm like this. Everybody's like hitting the dirt because it sounds like a weapon.
It was loud.
Yes. And you just keep rocking back and forth like this. Oh my God, it's not good. It's not good. Yeah, honestly, it's not good. Yeah. And then, I mean, it really ricocheted for a bit.
It did, yeah, because I ended up, I earned the name Ricochet Ricky. So if you're ever on Open Mic Live on Thursday nights at 10 p.m. on social media platforms everywhere, people will jump in sometimes and say, what's going on, Ricochet? And that's why, because I've shared that story. And that's one of those things.
And maybe because I was sitting there watching you in disbelief that it wasn't going to work. But, I said a few cuss words and was laughing because that's what I do when people fall. And it's bad. It's a bad thing. But anyway, I just couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, yeah, you sure showed me how to do that.
Oh man,
Yeah,
dude, that was the good Lord being like,
yeah,
like you're gonna be cocky about this. I'll show you. Like you're not gonna die, but you're gonna be humbled.
But everybody was like, holy shit,
Yeah, man. Oh, that was a good time. That was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that, so I have, when on Open Mic Live, I will share Ricardo stories, and that's one of them. That one, one of the times I had a plane stop because I got up to use the bathroom while we were taxiing to the gate, which wasn't good. Those who are watching, don't ever get up once you've landed. Just sit there and hold it because they will stop the plane. I learned that the hard way.
Ah.
That was so crazy, man. The flight attendant, she goes, sir, no, you can't. And I was like, oh, no, I'll be really fast. And I get in there and I start going and I hear the flight attendant on the horn. She's on the phone. She goes, no, it's okay. He's just being, no, okay. I'm like, oh my God. And I feel the plane stopping and I'm like, hurry up. Come on, man, hurry up.
Shake it.
I know. I hurry up, wash my hands really quick, and come out. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I was sitting. I think it was actually the very first time that I sat first class, and I thought I was like, man, I can hold it. I'm fine. I'm sitting up front, but no, I couldn't. But when I got out of the bathroom, I turned and I looked down, and everyone is like looking to see who it was. I'm like, oh, man,
SOB, man.
I'm that guy. And I sat down and I remember saying, man, I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought I said it in my head, but I said it out loud because the guy sitting next to me goes, he leans over to me. He goes, yeah, they don't like when you do that. The only thing that kind of helped was the fact that when we had stopped, at that moment that we stopped, there was another plane that was already taking off. So it looked like we had stopped for the plane.
Oh my God.
So thank the Lord for that. When we got off, I was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, go ahead, just go. And I hauled ass to get away from anyone who might have thrown me on the plane.
Like, God, I hope we don't get that SOB on here again.
Yeah, I told Mark about that. Mark, for those who are watching and listening, Mark Grady was the president of the company that I used to work for INdigital. And I told him that story and he starts laughing and he goes, what is wrong with you?
And that's Mark.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But that's just, it seems like something crazy or funny happens to me when I travel or when I'm at conferences trying to be cool.
Yeah. I mean, this is like right up your
Yeah.
alley. I mean, the stories just unfold when you're around. Things happen. Things happen.
It's a lot of fun. Well,
Yeah.
again, thank you so very much for coming on and sharing your stories and sharing this time with me. It has been a pleasure as always, and I can't wait for the next in-person one that we're at. I have not actually had a drink in over a year.
Oh, wow.
And not because of incidents like that, just because of health stuff. Like I wanted to do something different. I did the sober October, and I've just been doing it ever since. So
Wow. Good for you.
it's been pretty good, man. Yeah, I'm happy. So maybe
I wear my crown quite often. So
do you?
me and Apple Crown do well together. You
Nice.
know.
Well, I was going to say Heineken has Heineken Zeros that has no alcohol in it at all. So, maybe I'll pop a top of one of those with a shield, like with a helmet, just in case.
Well, yeah, we'll take one of them plastic COVID shields. I don't know if they're strong enough, but
I know, right?
dang.
Oh my God.
You took it, Pamela. But I do have one last thing that I just want to share with everybody. And and I've always used this. You don't need a title to move mountains. You need passion, you need knowledge, experience, yes or no, but that passion will move mountains and will to accomplish your dreams and goals. I have done quite a bit of that with the help of my industry partners without having a title behind my name. Or I'm not saying when I became a leader, it was helpful, but you can be book smart all day long and pass a test, but can you do the job? And do you have that willpower to move mountains and to have that passion and care to help others? So it is what it is. And that's what I'm going to leave you with, because don't get a title to step on people to get to where you're at. And you and I think, are a prime example of it, and especially you. So I appreciate all you do for the dispatchers, and I do jump on at night because I'm a midnight person by heart, and that's when you can laugh and let your hair down, cuss, and that's when the real funny stories come about. So appreciative.
Thank you very much. And I will be right back here with you. For those who are watching, if you have any comments, questions, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. That is going to be @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches podcast. This broadcast was sponsored by INdigital as well as Rapid Deploy, and this was an INdigital exclusive episode for the month of January. If you're looking for any bonus content, any of the Singing Badly in My Car, behind the scenes episodes, anything like that that's going on, discounts in the store, swag, all of that, you can check us out. And that's going to be patreon.com/WTT podcast. There is so much more that is coming, and announcements that are going to be coming up as well. So thank you all so very much for everything. I appreciate it more than you know. This can be seen 24/7 on Facebook, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn. And the audio portion of this can be heard 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone.